Hello everyone, welcome back to the second part of the video, chargeability of GST. So I hope you are enjoying the video. If you are enjoying the video, please click on like button and also subscribe to the channel if you are not yet subscribed. In the earlier part, the first part, we had discussed about the important definition of this chapter. Right? So in this video, we're going to discuss about the chargeability section 9. Now, so section 9 talks about levy and collection of CGST, that is GST under section 9. Friends, again I am repeating article 366(12)(a), the definition which is given under the Constitution of India about the goods and service tax means any tax on supply of goods or services or both except taxes on the supply of alcoholic liquor for human consumption. In the earlier video, we had discussed about what is goods and what is services, and in the first video we had also discussed about in detail about the article 366(12)(a). Again I am repeating because to bring it to your knowledge that alcoholic liquor for human consumption is excluded from the definition of GST, right? So therefore there cannot be any levy and collection of alcoholic liquor for human consumption. Now let us see section 9. Section 9 has 5 subsection. Now before we go further, in order to enhance the quality of your video or to enhance your knowledge, I want you to make a notes of whatever we are going to discuss, so it will be useful for your revision. So section 9 has 5 subsections. In 5 subsections, all the subsections we are going to study in detail. The first subsection 9.1 talks about subject to provisions of subsection 2, there shall be levied a tax called the Central Goods and Service Tax on all intrastate supply of goods or services or both, except on the supply of alcoholic liquor for human consumption. Now let us stop here. Look at first 3 lines of the definition. It begins with the word subject to provisions of subsection 2. What does it mean? Subsection 2 has overriding provision of subsection 9.1. It means it has prescribed, it has given some conditions in subsection 9.2. We'll see that later. Right? So subject to 9.2, there shall be levied a tax called Central Goods and Service Tax. Now, it's here talking about the Central Goods and Service Tax. We had seen in the definition in the earlier video central tax. Central tax means tax levied by the central government under section 9.1. So this is the section. So this is the tax which is being levied, central tax. So this is CGST component. Again, similar provision even under SGST, but both are different acts. So here exclusively we are talking about CGST. Now, so subject to conditions mentioned in subsection 2, central government can levy a tax on all intrastate supplies. Intrastate supply, what is intrastate supply? Means supply happens within the state, within a particular state. So that becomes intrastate. So whenever there is a supply of goods or services within the same state, there shall be a levy of tax called central tax, except on the supply of alcoholic liquor for human consumption. Now, why this word is included here in 9.1? Because article 366(12)(a) has not given power to the lawmakers. It has excluded definition from the definition of goods and services the alcoholic liquor for human consumption. Therefore, section 9.1 also excludes chargeability of GST on alcoholic liquor for human consumption. Alright, now look at 4th line. This chargeability is on the value determined under section 15 and such rate not exceeding 20%, as may be notified by the government on the recommendation of the council and collected in such a manner as may be prescribed and shall be paid by the taxable persons. Now, the whatever when you are charging GST, the GST shall be charged at a value determined under section 15. How will you calculate tax? In a simple mathematical formula, if I have to give you, tax is equal to value into rate. If I say 100 rupees the value, if tax rate is 18%, 100 that is value into rate that is 18%, you will get GST value that is 18 rupees. Correct? Now, the value will be determined under section 15. So, we have to refer section 15 for the purpose of determining the value, and the rate which I mentioned in the example 18%, that rate is decided by the central government on the recommendation of the GST Council. However, the rate which is notified by the central government on the recommendation of GST Council should not exceed 20%. See, I'm not talking about entire GST rate, right? I'm talking about only CGST component. It means now when I say 18%, out of 18%, 9% is CGST, 9% is SGST, right? So the 20% which we're talking about, if you include SGST component also, it becomes 40%, right? The rate may go up to 40%. However, here the maximum rate we have now is 28%, right? So the 28%, that is 14% CGST, 14% SGST. Now, overall, I summarize 9.1. Subject to 9.2, look at the condition of 9.2. There shall be a levy of central tax, CGST component, on intrastate supply. Only on intrastate supply. So, except for alcoholic liquor for human consumption, the value shall be determined under section 15, and the rate may be determined by notified by the central government on the recommendation of GST Council. However, the rate shall not be more than 20%. Am I clear? Okay. Let's go to the subsection 2. Section 9.2 talks about, because this has overriding provision of 9.1. The central tax on the supply of petroleum, crude, high-speed diesel, motor spirit, commonly known as petrol, natural gas, aviation turbine fuel shall be levied with effect from such date as may be notified by the government on the recommendation of the council. Well, do you remember anything? Yes, those who have already seen my first video, you'll remember we had discussed this topic under Article 246A. There was an explanation. Under Article 246A explanation, again I'm reiterating here for the purpose of your ready reference. Explanation to Article 246A says the provision of Article 246 shall come into effect on the item specified in the clause 5 of Article 279 only from the date when it is recommended by the GST Council. So item specified in 279A, exactly the same what you are saying in 9.2. Correct? So these petroleum products, for the time being, is there any chargeability? Yes, chargeability is there, but that is deferred till the date it is notified by the central government on the recommendation of the GST Council. So till the notification is released by the central government, so on the recommendation of the GST Council, there will not be any chargeability of GST on petroleum product. Clear? Well, next go to the third subsection. This is very important. The government may, on the recommendation of the council, by notification, specify categories of supply of goods or services or both, the tax on which shall be paid on reverse charge basis by the recipient of such goods or services or both, and all the provisions of this act shall apply to such recipient as if he is the person liable for paying the tax in respect of the supply of such goods or services or both. Now, see, there are taxability when you are collecting, there are two types of charges. One is called as forward charge. Now, in forward charge, what happens? This is what normally the taxability of GST. Seller sells goods to a buyer and buyer will have to make payment to the supplier. Correct? When buyer is making payment to the supplier, he will also pay GST along with the goods or services. Correct? When you are raising the invoice, when you get an invoice from the supplier, you will find the GST component also. You being a buyer, you will make the payment to the supplier of GST. Your responsibility is over. Now the supplier will retain his amount, the supply part, and GST component will make payment to the government. Clear? Now, here what happens? Buyer, again I'm repeating, buyer will make payment including GST to the supplier. Supplier will make the GST component to the government. He will make the payment either by cash, by utilizing cash ledger, or by utilizing input tax by utilizing through electronic ledger. That we are going to see in the subsequent chapters. However, it is the responsibility of the supplier to collect the tax from the buyer and make to the government. This is what normally happens. That is called as forward charge. But what this part of the definition, this 9.3 is talking about, only for the notified goods or services, the tax shall be paid on reverse charge basis. Now, if there is no notification, forward charge. Only for the notified goods or services, there shall be levy on reverse charge. Now let us understand what is reverse charge. Let us see the definition of reverse charge first. Section 2 subsection 98 defines reverse charge. Means the liability to pay tax by the recipient of supply of goods or services or both, instead of the supplier of such goods or services are both under subsection 3 or subsection 4 of section 9 or subsection 3 or subsection 4 of section 5 of Integrated Goods and Service Tax Act. Now, let us understand. Reverse charge means liability to pay tax by the recipient of supply of goods or services. Means here in the forward charge, liability to collect the tax from the buyer and make payment to the government is the supplier. But here responsibility to make the tax payment is not of the supplier but of the buyer. How it works? Now, say for example, a company is taking the goods, purchasing the goods, okay, the notified goods under section 9.3. When the company is purchasing notified goods, the seller of the goods will not collect GST, okay, he will not collect GST. Buyer will make the payment to the supplier whatever the value of the goods. However, he will not make the payment of GST. Now the buyer will make GST component directly to the government instead of making payment to the supplier. Clear? Now, the question now, how he makes the payment? Can he make the payment by utilizing cash ledger or credit ledger? Now, that we will see in the subsequent chapter. But now you understand, for time being, he has to make the payment by utilizing cash only. But he can take the input tax credit later. We will study that in detail in the subsequent chapter. This is sufficient at this time being. Now, again, look at the definition. Reverse charge means a liability to pay tax by the recipient of supply of goods or services or both, instead of the supplier of such goods or services. Instead of supplier of such goods or services. Now, make it clear. By default, it's always forward charge. Only for the notified goods, wherever it is mentioned, only for the notified goods, it is on reverse charge. Where and all it is specified? It says further under subsection 3, subsection 4 of section 9 and subsection 3, subsection 4 of section 5 of IGST Act. Similar provision, whatever we are discussing, same thing you are going to see even the integrated tax. But it's a different statute. But here it's a CGST Act. Under this, subsection 3 and subsection 4 both talk about reverse charge. Now we are discussing about section 9(3). So it's a reverse charge. Now we have understood reverse charge means the liability to pay the tax is on the buyer, not of the supplier, right? Now 9(3) talks about what type of reverse charge? On the notified goods or notified services or both, and by the recipient of such goods or services, and all the provision of the act shall apply to such recipient as if he is a person liable for paying the tax in relation to the supply of such goods or services or both. Whatever the act which is applicable, which makes a supplier to make the comply under the law, will be applicable even for the recipient of the goods, because he is treated as a supplier under the subsection 3. It's a deemed provision. So you will have to comply, the buyer will have to comply all the provision whatever the supplier usually comply, everything you will have to comply here. Right? Now, in simple words, 9(3) is applicable only for notified goods and notified services. Clear? Now, what are these notified goods? Let us see. Goods notified by CBIC under reverse charge basis. Cashew nuts not shelled up peeled, raw cashew nuts. BD wrapper leaves, that is tendu leaves. Tobacco leaves, supply of flattery, silk yarn. There are certain conditions apply here. Again, in detail we need to study in a separate chapter under RCM. Now for time being, this is sufficient. The goods which are notified under section 9(3), these are the 5 items. Clear? Now, services which are notified under section 9(3). Import of service, transport of goods by road, advocate or legal service, arbitrage tribunal, sponsorship service, service by director, insurance agent services, ocean freight, copyright service relating to literary, drama, musical, artistic work, radio taxi services, all services by government. These are the services which are notified. Only for these services, the liability is on the receiver of the service. Okay. Now, section 9(4). Section 9(4). Again, section 9(4) also talks about reverse charge. But here the reverse charge is different type of reverse charge. Now let us see. The central tax in respect of the supply of taxable goods or services are both by a supplier who is not registered to a registered person shall be paid by such person on reverse charge basis as the recipient, and all the provisions of this act shall apply to such recipient as if he is the person liable for paying the tax in relation to the supply of such goods or services or both. Now, please note this, section 9(4) is not talking about any notified goods or services. So therefore, it is applicable to all category. Now, what is this 9(4) is talking about? Central tax in respect of supply of taxable goods or services are both by a supplier who is not registered, that is supplier is not registered, to a registered person. Means when the buyer is registered, when the supplier is not registered, then you have to pay. It means the buyer will have to pay under reverse charge basis. Now, again I am repeating in simple words. When a registered person purchasing goods or services or both from unregistered supplier, then this reverse charge will be applicable? Yes. Now see the situation. What in case even the buyer is also not registered? Sir, seller is also not registered. Even buyer is also not registered. Now, simple. 9(4) is not applicable. So when 9(4) is applicable? 9(4) is applicable when seller is not registered and the buyer is registered. Clear? In simple words, buy from unregistered dealer and you have to pay. If you are a registered dealer, you have to pay under RCM. However, now look at the condition. Next, on 28th June 2017, from when the GST was introduced, from 1st July 2017. From that period till 28th June 2017, the provision was effective. However, on 28th June 2017, Central Government issued a notification number 8/2017, and through the notification exempted RCM purchase up to an aggregate value of rupees 5,000. Means if you are purchasing any goods worth till 5,000 rupees, it is exempted. Because this created a lot of problems. Say you are a buyer, you are a company, and you are buying a small item. You go buy auto rickshaw and you take a service and you pay 50 rupees and you have to pay under RCM. If you want to book your expense, you are receiving the service, you have to pay GST under RCM. So all this created a lot of problem. So therefore, and government said issued a notification up to 5,000 rupees value, you don't have to pay any GST under RCM. This is through notification 8/2017. When was it issued? 28 June 2017. However, on 13th October 2017, issued another notification. On 38 2017, the first provisional notification 8/17/2017 was omitted. The exemption was made applicable to for all registered person up to 31st March 2008. It means in 2000 June notification issued, and through notification exemption was given. The exemption was only up to 5,000 rupees value you purchase from unregistered dealer. No GST under RCM will be applicable. On 13th October 2017, another notification issued, omitted the exemption given 5,000 and extended the exemption to all category of taxpayers. That is, with whomsoever you purchase. If you purchase goods from unregistered supplier, you don't have to pay GST till 31st March 2018. Later on, through several other notifications, it got extended. Even till today, you don't have to pay GST on RCM basis, that is reverse charge basis, if you purchase goods from unregistered supplier. However, one more small notification. On 29th March 2019, through notification number 7/2019, the central government notified the section 9(4) will be applicable for promoters only for the supplies mentioned in the notification. Who are the promoters? Promoters in RERA who are involved. The definition of promoters in RERA is very wide. Assume person who is involved in the development of the real estate, right? And also person who is developing the plots. These persons, the goods or services are also specified in the notification. Say for example, the cement, capital goods, etc. These goods or services, when you are purchasing, when the promoter is purchasing, promoter is the buyer, right, from the unregistered supplier, then the promoter will have to pay under reverse charge basis as of now. Okay, this is issued through notification. So again, section 9(4), though section 9(4) talks about you have to pay RCM on reverse charge basis when supply is from unregistered supplier to the registered buyer, then RCM will be applicable. However, there are notifications issued and it is not applicable as of now for all the people except for promoters. Except even for promoters, only for the goods or services mentioned in the notification number 7/2019. Am I clear? Yes. Let's go to the next section, the last subsection of section 9. The government may, on the recommendation of the council, by notification, specify categories of service, the tax on intrastate supply of which shall be paid by the electronic commerce operators, if such services are supplied through it, and all the provisions of this act shall apply to such electronic commerce operator as if he is a supplier liable for paying the tax in relation to the supply of such services. Now, section 9.5, making liable electronic commerce operator if the services are provided through them. Now, it's very important that you have to understand here till section 9.3, 9.4, all these sections from section 9, subsection 9.1, it talks about goods, services or both. But if you notice in subsection 9.5, you will not find the word goods. It only says services. Clear? It means specified services. We'll see which are the specified services. If any specified services provided through electronic commerce operator, e-commerce operator, they are also called as aggregators. If the services are taken through aggregators, then the liability to collect the tax is on the electronic commerce operator, not with the service provider. Clear? Now, which are those service operates notified services? Look at this. Transportation of passenger by a radio, taxi, motor cab, maxi cab and motorcycle. Providing accommodation in hotels, inns, guest house, club, campsites or other commercial places meant for residential or lodging purposes. Service by way of housekeeping such as plumbing, carpentering, etc. Now, to give you an example, you book a Ola or Uber, right? So, Ola or Uber is a e-commerce operator. They are the aggregator. But who is the service provider? Cab driver. He is the owner of the vehicle and he is providing service to you. And you are the service recipient. Usually in forward charge, what happens? Service provider has to charge GST. Correct? That is, in the absence of this provision, the cab driver had to do the registration. I mean, had to collect the GST. Otherwise, reverse charge. Reverse charge, in reverse charge, what happened? The buyer will pay the GST. But this provision is leaving both service provider as well as service recipient from the collectability of GST. It's making liable the aggregator. Now, aggregator will have to collect GST on behalf of service provider and make payment to the government. Clear? The first part talks about transportation of passenger by a radio taxi, that is Ola, Uber. Second part, providing accommodation in hotels, in guest house, clubs, campsites, etc. If you are booking hotel through e-commerce operator, example, Make My Trip, you are booking hotel through Make My Trip. So, service provider is hotel, service recipient you, but who will make the GST payment, collect the GST and make the payment? It is the e-commerce operator. Services by way of housekeeping such as plumbing, carpenter, etc. If you are booking any services of this plumbing, carpenter, etc. through electronic commerce operator, then it's the responsibility of electronic commerce operator. Understand, 9.5 is applicable only for notified services, only for services. Clear? Now, see, you have to understand the service providing through electronic commerce operator is different, and yellow page, that is directory services, are different. Say for example, if the list of carpenters are mentioned in the Just Dial, Just Dial is a service provider, but it provides only the listing service. That is a directory service. So Just Dial is not providing you the service. It is not provided through Just Dial. You will just call directly the service provider and they will come and pay you provide the services. But other services are not like that. If the Just Dial owns the responsibility, and if Just Dial is representing the if the carpenter is representing Just Dial, then the service provided through electronic commerce operator. So this provision 9.5 is not applicable when there is a directory service. It's applicable only when services are provided through electronic commerce operator. Am I clear? Now, Let's revise entire section 9. Section 9 has 5 subsection. Subsection 1 talks about chargeability of GST. Chargeability of GST on what? First, on intrastate supply, subject to conditions specified in 9.2, except alcoholic liquor for human consumption, on the value specified in section as value determined in section 50, at the rate notified by the central government on the recommendation of GST Council. However, the rate shall not exceed 20%. Subsection 2 talks about the chargeability of petroleum products till it is notified by the central government and the recommendation of the GST Council. So there is no chargeability. Subsection 3 and subsection 4 talks about reverse charge taxability on reverse charge basis. Reverse charge basis means the tax is to be paid by the service recipient or the receiver of the goods, that is buyer of the goods, not the service provider. 9.3, the reverse charge basis is for the notified goods or notified services or both, right? So 9.4 talks about when you purchasing the goods or services from the unregistered supplier, the registered supplier will have to pay tax. However, it is not chargeable. It is not as of now there is no applicability of 9.4. However, it is applicable only for the promoter, only for the notified goods or services. In 9.5, the liability to pay tax on the notified services, only for the notified services, is on the e-commerce operator. E-commerce operator for the notified services will have to pay GST on, will pay on behalf of the service provider. That's it. That is the end of this. Okay, sorry. Further, there are two more proviso to this. Provided that we are talking about 9.5 now. Provided that where an electronic commerce operator does not have a physical presence in the taxable territory, any person representing such electronic commerce operator for any purpose in the taxable territory shall be liable to pay tax. Now, it means, say for example, Make My Trip is a company registered in Gurgaon. Assume. Now, you book a hotel in Bangalore, and you have to pay taxes because it's a intrastate supply within the state of Karnataka, and the amount has to go to the Karnataka government, and CGST, SGST of Karnataka will be applicable. Now, that person has to be registered in the state of Karnataka. Now, the liability is on whom? E-commerce operator. That is, Make My Trip has to register in Karnataka. Assume he is not registered in Karnataka. Now you can have authorized representative. We can have a representative who can do the compliance on behalf of electronic commerce operator. However, if company electronic commerce operator is not having presence, is not registered in the particular state, or is also not having any representative, then this proviso says you appoint a person in the taxable territory and do the compliance. At any cost, the liability is on the electronic commerce operator. Am I clear? All right. So this is the end of the session. We'll see you in the next video. In case if you are not yet subscribed to this channel, please subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much.